whether it belongs to Diplocolobium, which I think it is, or
do you have a microphone?
Who said that?
I didn't.
Who's the smart?
I did not say it.
I do, it's just out of my hand.
Yay.
It's either Dendrobium or Diplocolobium ridleyanum. It's one of the ones that last like 3 or 4 days. A lot of them last, I went to Walter Teague's one time. He had one in the morning. It was like 10:45 when I got there. I said, I'll come back in a half hour. I came back in a half hour and it opened and closed in that length of time. So those are ephemeral. These actually last, what, how many days?
2 days. This one opened yesterday. So
Wow.
it still is okay.
Yeah, less a few days though, right?
Maybe 3 days.
Yeah, so this one is ridleyanum. So these flower in to response to like changes in the weather, like a drop in temperature or what, I don't know what they actually are, but I've heard it's a drop in temperature. You, Rob? I know. Yeah, so because it can bloom any time of year, they just have these flushes of flowers. Okay. Whoa. Judy brings in a Sophronitis or Cattleya wittigiana. This is a lime red one, so it's a super nice one. But this is the one they used to call rosea. Sophronitis rosea or roseum. It's a beautiful form of that species. And it's not actually cool growing like a lot of other ones. It's an intermediate growing species. It doesn't like to grow very cool. At least I've not found it to like the cool. Oh no. Okay. Oh, there it was. Okay, so this, she's got it as an oberonia. Oberonia is a thing related to basically in Liparis and Malaxis in that group. And so oberonias have these, usually a fan of leaves or these narrow imbricated like braided leaves. But the flowers are really minute. Like sometimes, like she said, I'm not even sure the flowers are open. She put it on the table. There's one other genus that's very close called Hippiophyllum, which I thought that might be it. But anyway, it only has one species where oberonia has at least, I think, 100 species. And it's a really, actually a really cool genus to grow, at least having 1 or 2 of them. So Susan Anderson, in the front row here, brings in this tuberolabium. It's a sacrolabium, it's tuberolabium. Yeah, it's a Philippine species, a really nice fragrance, easy to grow, it's a dwarf plant. All of them are really nice. Some are actually, there's another genus, Trachoma, that those are sometimes lumped together, and they last really short, very short period of time. Susan also brings in this Paphiopedilum hybrid, Paphiopedilum deception. It looks like it's a Dale Nadii by, you know the parent? What is it? Nibium? It looks like, it does look like Nibium, but I don't know. John, do you know?
Yeah, I think it's Nibium.
Okay. So it's the primary of those two?
I'm taking a picture.
I'm just doing a recording, yeah.
So this is a plant that Susan's also, this is a collagenous species. It's one called incrustata, which means something about swelling, and it's because I think in Monoloracus is very similar, if not the same species, that of course has these little swollen, like little nodules along it, and so incrustata means thickened. Monoloracus means like a chain, so whatever species it is, it's a really nice, people like this a lot for the foliage. It's kind of this bronzy colored foliage. Flowers are kind of salmony colored, like salmony colored. Susan also brings in this, because I saw her bring this one in. She brings in a Paphiopedilum villosum, a somewhat coolish growing species. Some people can grow it outside. I know they can grow it outside in Southern California. It's quite a variable species. There's several forms of it. Anaminsi and Foxellii and stuff. But it's a really nice species to grow. And that's a really, I think that's a very nice one in itself. Chris Minda, That Tiny Jungle here in the front row, brings in this Dendropalum crucia. This is the newer, what they call red form. I guess it was found in a different region of the Philippines, but regardless, it's named after a friend of mine, Jim Coots. He found it, I don't know if he found it in the Philippines, but I think he's really lucky to have this species named for him. It's one of my favorite in the genus. It's closely related to Collagenes. I'm guessing there's 100, 150 species easily. They're found throughout tropical Asia, Southeast Asia. Particularly the Philippines and Borneo. So, Valerie. I was right here in the front row. She brings this little Salmonella and Cattleya, Brevia pedunculata. This is a species that's It's not kind of foolish growing. It grows on Valosia, which is a kind of a family of plants, Valosiaceae. They're monocots. It's like a little palm tree sort of. It has very rough bark. I'm sure we'll see it tonight actually in Ron's talk. But it's a species that grows, I think, mostly on Valosia and by Ron. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, Clum here in the corner in the front brings in a couple things. She brings in this mastivia species. It's a multifloral, and no one has actually ever given a name to it, and I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, it's fairly uncommon in cultivation. It's a really nice little species, and the maxillary schunkiana is the maxillary. It's got nearly black flowers. Of all the orchids, it's got one of the blackest flowers I've ever seen. So that should be the black orchid, but I guess it's not big enough to stun people. Okay, also brings in this Octomeria species. This is Octomeria caldensis. And Octomeria is unusual in the sense that it's a plurothalid, and most plurothallids are in Central America, mostly Colombian and Ecuador, Peru, and it's Bolivia, but this genus is mostly predominant in Brazil. There's many, many species of this genus in Brazil, so you don't see a lot of them very frequently. They're very nice plants. Chris Menda of the Tiny Jungle brings in this Catasetum hybrid. This is Catasetum frilidoris by a species called Catasetum saccatum. And these are male flowers on this. This is one of the few orchids that have male or female flowers. The plant's not male or female, just the flowers are. So sometimes they'll female spikes. Every once in a while you get both flowers on the same spike, and every once in a while rarely you get a hermaphroditic set of flowers. But they're usually very warm growing, they're deciduous. This time of year when they're starting to drop their leaves, or probably most have dropped their leaves, they are real prone to spider mites. Just be very careful about that when growing those. Dale Martin, right there in the second row or third row, brings in this Angricum hybrid. It's Angricum memoriam Mark Aldridge. And I don't know much about it other than it's probably a Sesquipedale by, I don't know the other parent, do you know? I don't have the tag anymore. Anyway, it's very pretty. And Dale brings in this. We don't see this very often. Sorry, Chris. Grown by Chris, destroyed by Judy.
Oh, punch him. Punch him.
I've killed things in her greenhouse, okay, so don't feel bad. So, anyway, she brings in a species that you don't, or Dale brings in a species you don't see very often. This is something that used to be a Schomburgkia, but this got merged with the Mexican lilies to become a Laelia. It was known for as Laelia superbiens for a very long time. It's a cool, tolerant member of this group, though, of the former Schomburgkias. You know, it's really lovely. You see by the tall spikes, people like this one very much. Comes in an albiform, you see it occasionally, too. We have another column, PCI.
Does it have a name?
Superbiens. Superbiens.
Laelia.
Did I not say that? I thought I said that.
You did.
I did?
Kind
You
of.
did.
Kind of.
All right. So Chris Menda brings in a different form, the other form, the typical form of the Cootsii. This is the one that was discovered first. The flowers are kind of orange and whitish, and this one's clone is called Curly. And the flowers are a little bit smaller, but it's still a very stunning species. I like it, as I said, very much. Dale Martin brings in this Cattleya hybrid. This is a SHC? SLC, Sulphur-Laelia Cattleya, probably all Cattleya. Hazelboyd Sunset is a clone, has an AM from the AR, so word of merit from the American Orchid Society. Dale brings in this Angricum too. This is Angricum Amazing Grace. There's actually unusual that there's not that many Angricoid hybrids. They just don't, I don't think they go very far past the a primary hybrid. I'm not sure if they actually go very complex. This is like it has Florulentum in it by, I don't know what the other parent would be, by Magdalena. No worries. Chris brings in, oh, I'm sorry, Chris Nietro brings in this Fragmipedium caudatum. It's just elongated, it's just opening, so those tails, this is the one with the petals will get to be 30 inches or so long. So it's really, I wish it was in full growth. I'd love to see it like that. It's actually pretty long already though. It's about like 18 inches long or so already, so that's pretty cool. It's a nice green one. So this one's pretty spectacular, I have to admit. I teased Chris, but this is Chris's plant. Paphiopedilum Icy, Icy Wind, and I'll pick this one up, because you should start clapping right now. Typically don't see white Paphiopedilum crosses grown like this. White ones are pretty difficult. There was a former member, she's long gone, Kay Reineman, who really liked the white Paphiopedilum hybrids, and so she said they're quite difficult to grow to get to this stage. So you've done really, really well. That's amazing, Chris.
One thing about the whites is a lot of them need more beats.
Yeah, that would make sense.
People treat them like the other complex, which don't. So.
Right, because they have all of the brachypedilums in it, right?
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. Two Oberonis in one night, that's amazing. So Lynn Merle, right there in the front row, brings in this Oberoni mucronata. And mucronata means on a flower, it usually has a little point that sticks out between two smaller points. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what mucronate means. I don't know what's mucronata about that, probably the lip on it. But anyway.
There's a little magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Magnifying glass. If you put it up to the light, they're all open. But you need your glasses.
Yeah. This is a beautiful plant here. This is a beautiful flower. We're talking about this Lynn Merle's brings us Laleocattleya CG Roebling. It's a primary hybrid of Purpurata by Gascoliana. Yeah, it's really lovely. I think it's worth a clap. Bill Weaver brings in this Cymbidium species. So Cymbidiums, everyone knows them, but you don't see the Australian ones that often. This is one that is one of 3 species that's native to Australia. It's known, it's Canaliculatum, because the leaves are channeled. They're very, very thick and succulent. They get almost very little water in the wild, so you don't water it like a typical Cymbidium. They usually can be very stout, but they can even get shorter leaves than this, and it's really tough. They can grow hot, but I guess it gets cooler than some of the other ones. Do you grow it cool, Bill? How cold does yours get?
They grow cool, but I found out that they like to be hot, and in fact, I put that around it to insulate the roots.
Yeah.
And I put 2 others without insulation.
Right.
Those have 8 spikes on them.
Nice. Yeah, so
The insulation's coming off of this. It's going to be a lot hotter.
so the other 2 species, Suave and Matadum, grow on the east coast of Australia. This species actually goes up along the up in the northern territory, it reaches all the way to Western Australia. Not the full length of Western Australia, it's the biggest state, but it goes into Western Australia, so that's pretty amazing. I see plants only about 6 inches tall of the same species, just growing in full bright light. Not in the wild, but in cultivation in Australia. So this is Canaliculatum. Mary Francis has an HCC with the AOS. So it's very nice. I'm glad Bill brought it in. Bill brings in this, I guess it's all Cattleya now, Bill. Sorry about that. Laelia, now Cattleya harpophylla by Cattleya flava, and that crossed by SL Orchidea, which is Coccinia by Synchrony. Do anyone know that? Their Orchidea? No, I don't feel bad. So it's got 4 Cattleya, former, now current Cattleya species.
Give it a week, we'll change it again.
Hasn't changed in a while, Bill, sorry. Sorry, Bill. This one is a Laelia, a true Laelia. This is one of the ones that stayed in Laelia. This is a primary hybrid. It occurs as a natural hybrid also, but this is Laelia anceps by Laelia albida. Anceps is this,
Yeah.
with albida, this small white, occasionally pink species. Sometimes they have pink lips on a white flower, but anyway, it's a smaller flower, but it's very nice. That's really nice, Bill. Let's jump to this other plant with Bill's first before we go to those others. So Bill brings in this Laelia anceps. This is called Barkeriana. I didn't put my glasses on, or somebody's glasses on. Anyway, it's very nice. It's one of the darkest I've ever seen of any Laelia anceps. I guess you got it for that reason?
Yep, the form's
Yeah.
kind of funky, but
It's got a great
It's
color.
really cool, really cool. Okay, so we're gonna do this tray, but unfortunately, we're gonna have to pick them up individually. They're just resting on that. So Fritz Pradeep, Fritz back there, and Arthur, brought this tray of Sophronitis, former Sophronitis. So he asked what I thought this was. I think it's a Brevia pedunculata, and Ronnie should check it out too. So this is the one I was telling you before that grows on the Velosias, and I believe this is another form. Wow, that one's gonna need a new mount pretty soon. So two different Brevia pedunculatas, and they're characterized typically when grown in bright light, they have actually nearly round marble-like pseudobulbs. And then these two on the, we'll go to this one here. So this one is a coccinia, but this is the one you thought was supposed to be Manticari? So supposedly Manticari has, and I found this to be true with my plants, Manticari has no purple stripe on the top of the leaf, but the undersides of the leaves are purple as a fusion, the whole underside of the leaf. But coccinia has a purple stripe down the leaf, which this one has. So I told him I thought it was a coccinia. So anyway, and then that's one, and this is another one here. And it also has the purple stripe down the leaf. But if you look, I gave Fritz one, I got it as Pygmaea, but it's a Manticari. The total underside of the leaves is purple, no purple stripe on the top. Yeah, but yeah, it looks a lot like it in flower. And then the last thing is a former Sophronidiella, now it's a Isabellia violacea. And interestingly, it has a natural hybrid with Isabellia virginalis, and that hybrid is called X. Pabstii, so natural hybrid.
Repedia, by the way, is Pumila by Coccinia.
Pumila,
And it looks like that's totally recessive.
yeah, it looks like that's solely dominated by the Harpophylla, mostly. So Chris Nietro brings in a Paphiopedilum tigrinum, very nice. This is was named Markiana for a short bit. For those of you who know Buddy Fun Mark in San Jose, it was named for him for a short, brief period. But I guess tigrinum was the name that was given first. Anyway, it's not a very common species. Fortunately, it is around and you can get it. They're not typically all that cheap, but it's a really beautiful species. So this one I need the glasses for. So Dave Hermeyer in the front row, see David. In the second row brings in a short spike form of ansets from Andes. Spikes are 16 to 20 inches long. Typically other ansets are 24 to 32 inches or longer long. So this is Lily Ansets Mini Harry. I wonder if Harry likes that, actually. That's Harry's and his brother. They have a kind of a love-hate relationship, exactly. So how about, we'll do this one, I guess. So Dave and Sam bring this Cattleya walkeriana. It's a primary hybrid being the first hybrid made between two species. So it's Cattleya walkeriana by intermediate variety Cerulean. So it's nice, it's very compact and probably pretty fragrant. It's not a natural, I don't think it can occur naturally, but it makes a nice hybrid. Let's do the Insigni, or whatever that is. So Chris Menda brings in this, it is. It's Paphiopedilum insigni. This is the type, she has it as the Yunnan type. Yunnan is the province right above North Vietnam in southern China. And actually the species goes all the way to India. It's most commonly found in India. So it's a big flower, yeah, it's huge. And actually quite a small plant, so.
And you can grow it
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's cooler.
And Chris is the tiny jungle again. For those who've not been to their greenhouse, I love going there because she grows all kinds of gesneriids and all kinds of foliage plants, and she's an excellent grower of these things. John McKellen here in the front row brings in this Sophrolalia, now Cattleya mini pet. And that's a coccinia by, what's the other parent?
Orchidia, I think.
By Orchidia. So it's a cross between, so it's 3/4 what was Sophronitis coccinia with 1/4 Laelia pumila. John also brings in this SL Tiny Star, so Sophrolalia Tiny Star. Is that Cernua by something?
Yeah, it's one of the ones that Peter Lynn talked
Peter
about.
Lynn was just here?
It's a Cernua by a more like an SL hybrid that I don't
Okay, so by a
remember.
complex hybrid. It's very cute though. He seems like he's got an eye for breeding these little plants. It's really cool. Yeah, we'll do this. So John also brings in this Lily autumnalis. Did you get this from Andy, maybe? Just
Yeah.
the label. Yeah. So this is a Mexican species of Lele that can be grown outside in the Bay Area. You got to kind of keep it. You got to keep them dry for most of the winter. I mean, you can give it a little bit of water, but they really don't want much water because in Mexico, basically they're dry from. I've told you this before, from November to about May. They get almost no water. I've been there at the very end of April, and it was so bone dry. It was dust everywhere. So they really get a very strict dry rest for much of Mexico. All right, so these are all John's, I can tell. This is a Phragmipedium Dallasandri, which is, I think, just a form of Besseyi, but everything about it looks like the plant growth and everything. But whatever, it's the Peruvian form, is that correct? Dennis Dallasandro is in Peru.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think it's the Peruvian form of Besseyi.
Yeah, right.
By Inca Fire, which I don't know, but
Inca Fire is just like 75% Besseyi, so it's
so
mostly.
really, it looks so much like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Phragmipedium Jason Fisher. All these Besseyi hybrids, and I think we got some Kovakia hybrid coming in here in the next Besseyi by Kovakia or something. And this is Phragmipedium Fritz Schomburg, and these are pretty complex. I don't know. I could say it's got Besseyi and Kovakia in it, but that's all I know.
It's just the primary.
That's the primary hybrid of the two?
Yeah.
Okay. So I heard you telling somebody something was a really nice. Is this the Jason? You said the Jason Fisher was a really nice one for that cross.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice one, and like more than sometimes they'll have more than one flower at a time, and it's nice and flat. But that one has a color break, and
Okay.
It's a triploid.
So this is a Phragmipedium Tupac Amaru, and I don't know anything about it. I guess it's got both those species in it, I assume.
Yeah, this is a 75% Kovakia. It's the primary between Dallasandri, if you think of it that way, and back crossed onto Kovakia.
Okay. And two more.
They're the same.
Okay. So these are Phragmipedium Don Wimber, and these are 4 ends and just 2 plants of that cross. So very nice. Nice table tonight.